Welcome to the Scrapbook Live for Wednesday, September 14th. Hopefully everybody who's watching this is able to get this printed from my blog, megganjacks.com. And there's a link, if you're watching this on YouTube later, there's a link in the description. If you're watching this on Facebook, you'll see a link in the very first comment will take you to my blog where you can print this off. This is a blog project from Creative Memories from March 16th using the Endless Meadows collection. I'm not using Endless Meadows. I have some pictures that aren't so light and airy, but there's a lot of fun. So we're going to go ahead and I'll switch over to my desktop and you guys can see what I've got going on here. So I've got some photos and I've pre-done a lot of things here. I've got some photos of Cody when he found a snake in our neighborhood. So my husband and I were out walking around the neighborhood and there's Cody riding his bike. All of a sudden he's like, I found one. And he picked up a snake near kind of a wooded area close to our house. So of course I had my phone with me. I took some pictures, right? Like I was a good mom and did all that kind of stuff. So these are some various photos in here. The great thing about this is they were all vertical photos. So it was easy for me. This is a great layout. If you have vertical photos, they do show here, one vertical photo in the middle. You can see it, the 4x6. And then they have more or less vertical images on either side. You could probably turn these into squares. You could probably rotate this layout if you needed to. That is something to consider if you are working with horizontal photos, is always just kind of imagining the sketch, because the sketches are real easy to just rotate and take a peek and see whether or not you like the shifted orientation. So my photos are all vertical, and I actually might peekaboo pocket some things here in the middle. I have a few extra photos, and normally this type of a thing, I wouldn't need to turn into a 2-page layout. I think I have a total of 5 photos. One appears to have gone missing. I'm sure it's around here somewhere, that I think I can peekaboo pocket and then do some journaling if I want in there. So this is what, now the question came into is with these photos, what was I going to use for the layout itself? And the one thing I want you to note that's kind of important with this is this border that we're making. You can see here, especially if you read the directions, they literally take the border elements and mount them to the page. There's no background to the border. It's not like we're going to make a 12-inch border and then cut it into that 8-inch and 4-inch segments. We definitely could. That might be the best option for you. But they do it where they take these are all stickers from the Endless Meadows collection, and they basically cut all the stickers in an 8-inch segment and a 4-inch segment and apply them directly to the page. So the thing to note with that is that you want to make sure your border elements look good on it. For the blog example, that they looked good on white, but they also looked good on the purple. And I had the same conundrum when I was picking out my papers. I decided to go with things from the What a Zoo 2 because I liked this yellow. I really love these, the Golden Harvest yellow, mustard yellow color. It works well. His helmet is like really neon, but I figured it was fine. And I figured I could pull in some green. So we get some brown here because there's the mulchy dirt behind him. And then I pulled in the red. This is from the red is from the Barnwood paper out of the summer texture pack. The dirt paper is from the Wide Open Places. It has the cow print on the opposite side. So mixing and matching for my collections based on the colors that I needed. Now, initially, I was going to use yellow, this golden yellow, the mustard, as my background because I just love this color. I was like, I'll just use the mustard color and that'll be it. But then as I started thinking about what do I want my borders to do? What am I going to do with my borders? The other part that was great about using the sticker or the What a Zoo is I had all sorts of border stickers to choose from that goes with the color. So you can see here, there was the What a Zoo has a border sticker pack, and it also had the texture pack that came with you could order more stickers that go with the What a Zoo colors. So that was, I think these are the 3 that are from the texture, the quarterly sticker pack that are just borders. And then the What a Zoo border stickers have, you know, the fun zoo really related to the zoo, but then there's just some general, you know, stickers in there that are definitely possibilities that I could use. Now, I'm going to admit to you, sometimes I freak out about using stickers because, well, they're very permanent, right? So one of the things you can do when you're working with stickers is you can either save maybe a sticker sheet that you've pulled all of the stickers off of already. You can save that backing paper. You can buy sticker paper. This is just, I have some sheets of it that I've purchased off of Amazon. And now I have, I think maybe could use like wax paper. But now what I've got here is I've got kind of a holding area for my stickers. My stickers aren't going to stick. This is sticker paper. And I can kind of, you know, imagine what are things going to look like layered, and I can just put them back on a sheet. I have my title, some of my title stickers going here too. So that's something to think about when you're working with the stickers, is having that safe place to put your stickers before you add them on without necessarily having to work them back onto your the sticker sheet. That, because sometimes, especially with the border stickers, it can be hard to get them realigned. You could pull I've seen some people that just pull off this extra bit, the part where the stickers are not attached. That is always an option too, but sometimes you can use the overprinted area. So anyway, things to think about there. So now as we get into some of these border elements, one of the things I realized is I wanted to bring in the yellow border element. I knew I did. I knew I wanted a yellow element in my border. The problem I saw immediately that I was going to run into is my yellow border element wasn't going to show up well if I use yellow as my background paper. So then I was like, well, but I think I also want to use a yellow mat. So then it was like, okay, well, what if I use brown as my background? Very neutral. So I'm going to use the dirt as my background page. Then as I start to see here, the green is going to be that 4-inch strip that's off to the side. So in the handout, brown is going to be my white. Where they have white, I'm going to have a brown background. The green, this green paper, is going to be this purple. So what I did is I was kind of playing around with my borders. I just overlapped them. I probably could go ahead and cut, since I know I'm going to use green, I'm going to go ahead and cut this at 4 inches. It's step 2 is cutting that strip at 4 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this, making sure I've got my straight blade in there. I'm going to cut this at 4 inches wide. My overall measurements, I will be, for the most part, following the blog directions. So now I can see that that's going to go on like this. Now, I have some stickers, obviously, that I can use. I went ahead and did punch some various borders that match my theme. So I used rustic fence with some light tan cardstock, because you can't really see it in the background, but there's fencing along between the sidewalk and the nature preserve that's close to our house. So I wanted that rustic fence, works perfect. I wanted a little bit of a grass element because, well, you know, I just thought it would work well. I did this in dark green. Because once again, what I had to look for here is I had to pick a green that would stand out against the green here, but also be visible off of the brown. It might be hard to tell on the video, but there is a good contrast between those. I cut this at about 1.25 inches tall. The grass is cut at 1.25 inches tall. And I did use the Victorian blade along the bottom when I cut it. I'm not 100% sure that I really needed it to be cut with the Victorian blade. I think that's ultimately going to kind of get covered up, but it was just an idea. And then I punched using that yellow paper, the yellow tonal paper out of What a Zoo. I punched the circle chain. I don't know, I just liked it. I wanted some bold yellow in there. So that's going to come on like such. Now I already mentioned that I was going to be using the red. This is that red barnwood. I know that's going as my title across the top right there. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure I'm pulling that red to the bottom as well. So I punched it with the zigzag, and it's going to sit on here. Everything's going to sit on top of it. It's just going to be a little bit of red hanging out at the bottom as such. So this is literally just mixing and matching. You can kind of peek at the sketch and you can see some different elements that they've got going here. They kind of have a decorative edge at the top. You can see they used the goldfinch sticker from the Endless Meadows. So I went with something a little bit more decorative, which is that is going to be my rustic fence. And then you can see that they kind of came in with some, little more, solid pieces. They used a titles, or like one of those skinny stickers that has the little quotes and the titles all the way across it, and it just continued on. And then they finish off at the very bottom, just making sure that everything has a nice contrast between the white and the purple. And I've got that. I can see here that I'm standing out against my brown. I'm also standing out against my green. That's really important. Now, I do have one last element I'm going to be putting on here, but it is actually a sticker, so I can't just set it on here to look at it. But from the What is Zoo tonal, or What is Zoo, the Totally Tonals sticker pack for the zoo textures, there was this kind of gray striped wavy, and I thought that would be really nice for a snake. So I'm going to be putting this in here about such, kind of to represent the snake that he managed to pick up. So that's where I'm going with all of this. So now it kind of comes down to starting the assembly. One last thing I want to talk about. I'm going to just move this down here. I will get all these things all put into place. The mat pack had, as I was figuring out what I wanted to do, so we're going to go here. I pre-cut my photos to go. So I'm just going to use, these are going to be on here like such. So now what I needed to do is I needed to think about the yellow that I was going to go here. So I grabbed the mat because they do show that it's a 4x6 photo with a 4.5 by 6.5 inch mat. So if you have the mat pack, those are the larger sizes of mats that are in there. So I went through and looked, do they have a yellow mat? And they do. I was like, okay, well, that's great, because now I can easily visualize without cutting any paper what it's going to look like. All right. So if I was just putting this together, you can see how easy that is just to use the mat pack and that type of thing. Now, the downside with using the mat pack is that you can look here, and I've got some journal boxes under here on this yellow. So I really don't think I'm going to end up using this mat, partially because I've already got some similar paper. It's a tonal paper. So I'm going to cut this tonal paper down rather than using my mat, and I'll save my mat. This is, of the mats, this is the only one I think that has that golden color, and I do like the fact that it has those journal boxes. So I don't want to just cover this up. I could cut the journal boxes out, but I'm just going to save the mat for another project, and I'm going to go ahead and trim some of this tonal mustard color paper to the 4.5. So I'm going to come here to 4.5 wide, and then do 6.5. Rotate it and cut it at 6.5. And this is also if I needed to shrink that down. Maybe I wasn't using a 4x6. Maybe I didn't want a full, the 1/4 inch border all the way around. I could make some adjustments, but I want that full 1/4 inch border. I want the 4x6 because if I want to peekaboo pocket something, that's easiest to do with the peekaboo pocket. And now I've got that same pattern that's down here also up there. So that worked out fantastic. So there you can see starting to kind of come together. I'm going to go ahead and adhere my green piece to my brown piece. So the 4-inch piece to the background. I'm going to move my borders off, kind of just set things aside and start doing some adhering. If I wanted to be really saving with all of my paper, I probably could have cut off 3.5 inches and saved some of my cow print. I'm not so worried about it. I think that I've opened a couple packs of the wide open places. So I think I have like 4 sheets of this that I haven't really used yet. So I'm doing okay on that particular pattern. And sometimes that's how it works. There's, 2 or 3 patterns that you're using a lot of, and a couple of the patterns get left behind. So you'll end up with more of those, and you maybe don't feel like you have to be so frugal with those pieces. So we've got that 4-inch piece stuck here onto the right side. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to work on putting those borders into place. So all of my borders here that I've already punched, I will go ahead. I think I'm just going to go ahead and use my trimmer and just cut them all. I'm going to cut off 4 inches. Or I'll cut them, actually I'll just cut them at 8. It'll just be easier. So then I'm going to have my 8-inch segment and my 4-inch segment. This is one of those projects that just is kind of like, I always kind of jokingly say, this is the reason I buy every Border Maker cartridge that comes out, because you just never know when you're going to want to use it. A lot of these are retired. I apologize. Zigzag is retired, has been retired forever. So has Rustic Fence. Grass we had back last year as kind of during that tool time buffet. And then of course, Circle Chain is still available. So this is a fun time to mix and match your punches, or mix and match your stickers if you've got the stickers within a collection. So I know, let's see here. I'm going to do a quick dry fit on here to see where I need to start the spacing. I could try to adhere these all. Like I know my, this circle one is going to actually sit almost entirely on the grass because I gave myself such a wide swath of grass, which worked well because now there will be solid green between all my circles. So I'm going to go ahead and just use some repositionable adhesive and adhere that right to my grass. I'm ultimately going to cover up that, the decorative edge that I cut with. But that is, something when you're making your borders, if you're using the Border Maker cartridges or border punches and you have that edge style, the grass is the edge style, meaning it doesn't come off of the paper. And so I need to cut it off the paper. Using that decorative blade is a great way to cut it off without just having a straight edge at the bottom. If you have that the sticker paper I was talking about, that can also, it won't pick up any of the adhesive. The repositionable adhesive won't stick to it. So it's a great way. I want to make sure I can see my fence, so it's going to stick out above the grass. One other thing with the fence punches, or anything that is represented by wood, so even if you got that Adirondack chair punch that was available this summer from the summer promotion, is using a wood textured paper, the wood tone papers, and punched with that. Is always a great option. The reason I didn't do that is because I have a pretty textured paper behind it. This brown dirt paper has a lot of texture already going with it, so I wanted something solid. And so I went ahead and just used the light brown for the fence. But depending on your paper situation and what punches you're using, you might consider using that wood tone paper to punch the things like the fences and the Adirondack chair. All right, so then I'm going to I want a little bit of this red hanging out below the bottom. There we go. I think that'll be good. So that's that border. So now I just need to repeat the same thing up here. Stick my fence and my grass together. Adhere my circle chain. And then I'll adhere the red zigzag. And that's going to go up here at the top. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put those on. I'll use regular adhesive for that. Use some repositionable across the top of my fence. I'm not going to push down super hard here at the top. It's a light tack into place, largely because I don't know if I'm going to have to make any adjustments across the top of that based on height of my photos. I'm pretty certain it's going to stay up here more towards the top. I know this here is going to go down fairly close to the bottom. This banner paper, I've already cut it to 2 inches. That was per the directions. If you look at direction, the second step of step 2, the cut a 7 3/4 inch by 2 inch strip of the leaf green. I'm going to go ahead and trim this to 7 3/4. It's 7 3/4. And they want a banner cut on it. And I just realized I forgot to grab my banner. I have the banner, the ribbon cut. This is the ribbon punch that came with one of the secret boxes earlier this year. Came with the glitter pack if you got that one. I can't remember if that was maybe box number 1 this year. So I'm going to go ahead and just use that to make these ribbon cuts. I always like to work from the back side with it. It works. The reason I'm able to do this easily is because this does have a 2 inch wide slot that this feeds into. Otherwise, you just try to center it in there. I always like to work from the back side because I don't want to force this all the way in because I'm going to cut off a lot of the excess. I'm going to come in making sure that I'm in the slot that it needs to be in, that I'm just past the cut portion, and now I'll punch. So I just cut off a little triangle, and there we go. And now it's just kind of like getting my photos on here. I have some letters I'm going to use at the top. So you can see how that's starting to come together. And I still have that sticker that I'm going to put on that kind of represents the snake. I'm going to do that here in a minute. I'll get that put on there. I'll adhere. Well, actually, I said I was going to use a peekaboo pocket, and I want this to be my front picture. I think I'm missing one of my pictures. I don't know where it ran off to. This one I think I will put on the inside. So this is actually going to be when you flap open, this will be the one that's there. So this is the one I'm going to adhere. This is the inside the peekaboo pocket. Once you lift up the peekaboo, this is what you're going to see. So I want that to be the one that's attached to my mat. When you're using the peekaboo pocket, you kind of have to think like that. Once you open it up, what's it going to look like? Now it's a matter of putting these photos are supposed to, I have them cut a little too wide. I think they're supposed to be 3.5 inches wide, and I have them cut to 3 3/4 inches wide. so they are supposed to tuck. I don't know whether on the original layout, if they're just flush to it, you've already got that extra 1/4 inch, but you definitely want to be able to see, according to their example, you can see the purple and the white off to the sides. So I'm going to tuck my photo under a little bit. I think they have theirs just butted right next to it. So the 3.5, nothing is actually tucked under. But I'm going to have to do a little bit of tucking because of how I cropped. And so what I could do is I could come back and just crop off a little bit more so I don't have to tuck at all. The nice thing about the tucking is it does let me, I can see, how much do I need to do. So I think that's going to be pretty good there. Yep, I like that. Okay, so now it's a matter of just getting my photos put on the page. When putting on the photo with the matte on the right side will overlap into the green side, and it's basically flush with your photo. So it has a 1/4 inch overlap. So I'm making sure that the green comes right down along the edge of my photo. I could grab my matte and my T-square ruler and line that all up, but I'm gonna be a little lazy. And then I'll put these photos in, tucking them under ever so slightly. Actually, what I need to do is I can see here, my photos are longer than they're not 4 inches tall. They're closer to 4.5, maybe even 5 inches long, just because I didn't want to cut off too much. I couldn't get them down to that 4-inch size. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and trim off, because you can see here, I've got this photo is sticking out and I don't want it to stick out. So I need to trim that piece. So grab my personal trimmer. I have an old squeaky personal trimmer. You're going to hear it complain that I lifted it up. So now I can just come in there flush right next to it. I don't have to go under, and I can see that green edge there that I wanted to. I wanted to see that green edge. And I'm going to go ahead. This side I can tuck. It doesn't matter on this side. I'm not going to be sticking out above, so I'm not going to worry about trimming it off. Actually, I am going to the reason I'm going to do this is I think when I tuck it under, I start getting a little too close to this helmet. I would like to leave a little bit of space here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a 1/4 inch off of this side. I feel like I can cut off his elbow without any problems. And I'm cutting from the back side on this only because I don't want to have as much adhesive sticking to the bed of my trimmer. Yeah, that worked out fine. And there we go. I can just butt it right up next. And I am going to come up flush across the top. So now my photos are on. The next step is I guess I'm going to go ahead and stick on my stickers, or my border sticker. So I've got here is my wavy gray. It's bluish gray, kind of like a dark navy, a little bit maybe gray. I don't know. It's hard to exactly say. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay it here. Grab a pair of scissors and double check. Probably should grab that paper, and there it is. And it's going to come in here like such. Just along the top, be a fun, looks like, it just has that snake element to it. That wave has the stripes. The garter snakes have those stripes on them. it's really funny. We lived in Arizona for so long that we, of course, in Arizona didn't really encourage our children to pick up snakes. It really wasn't the thing to do. Here in Washington, at least where we are, there's just garter snakes in our neighborhood. If you go to Eastern Washington, you can run into rattlesnakes and all sorts of fun stuff. So in the neighborhood, it's fine for Cody to pick up the snakes and the frogs and every other thing. The frog population probably took a pretty big hit this year. They're little tree frogs. They're pretty delicate. We have encouraged him to be gentle with them, but he's 7. So there's how things are going to start to look. Now we got the title across the top. So I am going with the title Snake Charmer. All right. So I punched out some letters. I have a die cut machine. It's just one of those manual. It's a Cuttlebug. It's not. I do have a fancy Silhouette that I could do things, but I start to run into when I have too many choices, I will spend hours finding the perfect font. So this works better for me. It's going to say Snake Charmer. Now, here's what I ran into my problem. Oops, if I could put these letters on correctly. Snake, and then I wanted to have the word charmer come here. And I had these fun letters from the What a Zoo alphabet collection. They kind of have like an animal print to them. And it was brown. I thought, oh, that's really fun. The challenge is once I started looking at putting these on here, I think you're just going to lose the word charmer across there. And now I'm actually a little worried that it's going to be too big. We'll see here. I was intending to use a small strip and come across here and go ahead and have the snake be on top of it. Well, maybe it'll still work. And have this also be ribbon cut. And this is punched to 1 inch. So I'm gonna go ahead and just ribbon cut this. This is 1 inch tall with the same tan paper that I punched the rustic fence in. I need these pieces of paper to hold still. So we're gonna go ahead and adhere this in place. And then this paper is going to come in, I think, maybe like such. I think it needs to be a little bit longer because these letters are kind of fat. They're kind of, they're kind of chunky, right? They're pretty wide. They're definitely not thin. So that'll come in like snake. What I basically needed to do is I needed to keep the charmer letters off of the red. They just were not standing out enough. So I think what I'll do is I'll then overlap those. So I'm going to I'll probably build backwards, starting with the R and come backwards over the snake part. So that's when you're doing things like that. I know I'm going to start the word snake over here. Can probably come over a little bit more. And rather than starting with the C of charmer and building out towards the end, because I don't know, I know where I need to end. I need to end here. I don't want to go any further than that. So if I start here with the R and build the letter backwards, it really doesn't matter where the C of the letter starts. If it starts over here on the A or the K, that's fine. It doesn't really matter one way or the other, but this way will allow me. If you got the title Topia, you can center it in there. That kind of fun stuff. So I'll get those letters put on. And all in all, though, that's pretty much how it's going to be. I need to come in with a little bit of journaling, and I'm not sure. I've got this little bit of extra here that I could come in and just do another little banner down here. Cut this. I'm not too worried about too much journaling other than just saying Cody enjoyed picking up snakes the summer of 2022. So it doesn't need to be super detailed. I could come in something along those lines. maybe a little bit more space. All right. So I think that is pretty much how it's going to wrap up. This is facing the wrong direction. I used, when I punched my letters, the mustard color did not stand out super well. And I'm not a person that normally likes to go around and ink my edges, especially on letters. It just gets really tiresome, or really, yeah, it's just pretty tedious, and I just don't have that patience. So I punched a second round of it with the brown cardstock and created just a little bit of a shadow. Now it's just a matter of making sure that the shadow's all going the same direction for all of those letters. I had the N turned around backwards. So there you can see it a little bit more in person. Sometimes online, or the overhead video is a little bit challenging to see. But that is pretty much going to be this layout. So definitely has a different feel to it in terms of the colors and the photos than the layout here, but you can get an idea. The split border is fantastic, just playing with those stickers and your border punches and all that fun stuff. And then just adding those details. This would be a great one. You could expand to a second page. You could come over here on this side and you could come in with an entire piece of the green, right? You could come all the way across with the green and just let this be a very exciting right or left side, and come across here with the green, maybe continue that border on across. Depending on how you created the border, whether you have enough stickers to continue on with another full set of stickers. So there's lots of ways that you can expand this into a second page. You could just mirror it into a second page. I've had people, you could come in. One of my favorite things to do is, depending on your photos, is this could be just all photos. Don't even worry about putting these decorative elements on the page, but carry over the same colors. So maybe you're going to have just, 3 by 3 images. So 9 photos, square photos, and you would just map them in the various colors that we've used here. And that's going to pull all of those colors over to the second page without having to recreate these details if you don't want to, or maybe you don't have the sticker elements. I could do it again, because I do have another one of those wavy sticker pieces. That is the nice part about using the punches. It's usually easier for us to get multiple copies of the punched pieces versus the stickers. So it does take a little bit of thought when you're using stickers, if you're planning to expand beyond what the initial project wanted you to use for stickers. Just double checking, do I have enough stickers to carry it over, or how can I make this so that it works, across the 2 pages if I'm a little bit more limited. So I will go ahead and get the rest of this put together. I just need to add, I'm going to adhere my, I need to adhere this, this part up here. I need to probably go ahead and put in, I'll put the year in here somewhere, and maybe a little bit of journaling. I always do the journaling later, partly because my handwriting is atrocious and I never want to ruin the visual look of the layout with my atrocious handwriting. So that is the layout for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm really excited about this layout. It came together really nice. I was struggling a little bit last night trying to find photos for it, and I came across these and said, oh, this is perfect. And then what a zoo! Oh my gosh, how perfect! We're not at the zoo, but we are playing with wildlife in our own neighborhood, so that's a fun use of that collection. So I hope everybody enjoyed, that you're having a chance to put this together. If you do, please share it. I can't wait to see it. We will do this again next week. I do not know what the project's going to be yet. I haven't decided. It may be a mystery project until I see, I expect them to have some new sketches. I like to wait until they have the sketches available, because I think it really helps us visualize what the layouts that they've made look like when they've been neutralized into those sketched elements rather than just the layout. There is a Golden Harvest layout that used the decorative trimmer that I'm really excited to, I'm hoping that they'll put a sketch out for that one, because I do want to use that. I think I want to do that as a scrapbook live. I think it's in the sketchbook for Creative Memory, so I know there's a sketch for it. They just haven't put it on the blog yet. So we'll see if they do that one. Otherwise, we'll find something else next week to put together. So thanks so much for watching. If you had any quality issues or you just buzzed in or out, this will be on the YouTube page or my YouTube channel later if you wanted to watch it again to put your layout together. But it's pretty straightforward. So hopefully you have a chance to play around with it and complete one for yourself. All right. Hope everybody has a great day. I will see you all next week. Thanks for watching.